Africa for the Africans, home and abroad. United we stand and divided we fall. Ethiopian people are our people, but none of our rights are equal. Africa are where we belong and we all come from. So when will the African leaders get up and tell we that we may come home? Them take we Outta Africa, but them can't take Africa Outta we. Cause anyway I go and live that first ancient African Ethiopian liberty. Most people born and raised in Africa and live that true African liberty as I do. Kind of people in Africa have thoughts like them are in Europe. I'm not born and grown up in Africa, but I thoughts and mind are in Africa. I'm a live Africa, cause they can never take Africa out the eye. Enough Rasta black and white people gone to Africa, but not forget that there are rules and laws in Africa. And some of we own black people not accept we as real Africans. No, we all have a right to go wherever we all want. We can't go anywhere without a visa stamp, not even to we homeland. The borders are not open for we, them try to avoid reaching our destiny. We can't stay for longer than 3 months, we are not free. And if them renew for another month, probably we have to pay a big fee. If I people go to Africa, them complicate so many things. Them treat we as tourists and grow the price for everything. Them treat we as foreigners, aren't we all the same? Some of we are lighter and some of we are darker, but we feel the set pain. We share the set sun, set air, set world and set rain. But the whole world belongs to I and I, so we can't just take a train or a plane. We will pay to stay, but not every man either can afford to pay. To go on a motherland for only a 2 or 3 months stay. Africa are where we belong and we all come from. So when will the African leaders get up and tell we that we may come home? Them take we out of Africa, but them can't take Africa out we. Cause anyway I go and live that first ancient African Ethiopian liberty. Most people born and raised in Africa and live that true African liberty as I do. Kind of people in Africa have thoughts like them are in Europe. I'm not born and grown up in Africa, but I thoughts and mind are in Africa. I'm a live Africa, cause they can never take Africa out the eye. There are no African leader or government who have interest in we, in allowing we and to accept we to live and go where we want freely. We are all want to help and develop beautiful Africa. Cause there are no one attack so much about Africa as it true Rasta. But we need better options than to stay as tourists in a Zion. Or than be treated as foreigners when we are in a fact home. We are all Africans, but there are too much rules and regulations. Too much borders and boundaries and too much restrictions to be a true part of Africa. So when will the government realize that we are not taken by free will but by force out of free motherland? Maybe them can't fully accept it to let we live in Africa, cause some of the people that sold we to at the set lineage than nowadays African leaders. Let I tell you why maybe the reason why make there so much evil. Cause the set invaders that raped and bought and sold the African people are from the set bloodline that want to educate we about Africa. So I make you think there is so much negativity about Africa. Africa are where we belong and we all come from. So when will the African leaders get up and tell we that we may come home? Them take we out of Africa, but them can't take Africa out we. Cause anyway I go and live that first ancient African Ethiopian liberty. Most people born and raised in Africa and live that true African liberty as I do. Kind of people in Africa have thoughts like them are in Europe. I'm not born and grown up in Africa, but I thoughts and mind are in Africa. I'm a live Africa, cause they can never take Africa out the eye. Some of them are more colonized, live free in Africa than I will not in Africa. So if you cannot find tolerance and you choose spiritual awareness, if you cannot find your righteousness and your fairness, you will never find yourself home, cause most people in Africa have a mind and they think like them are in Europe or in America. When some people they live elsewhere have a more African mind. Where I man belong and where I man come from, a Africa land. I man live Africa, cause them can never take Africa out the island. Africa are where we belong and we all come from. So when will the African leaders get up and tell we that we may come home? Them take we out of Africa, but them can't take Africa out we. Cause anyway I go, I live that first ancient African Ethiopian liberty. Most people born and raised in Africa now live that true African liberty as I do. Kind of people in Africa have thoughts like them are in Europe. I'm not born and grown up in Africa, but I thought some mind are in Africa. I'ma live Africa, cause they can never take Africa out of I.